Okay, it's going to be an interesting unit. We're going to learn about some history. We're going to learn about some famous explorers. If you have a look at page 60, let's have a look at some of the pictures on page 60. Raise your hand if you can tell me what you can see. What can you see in the pictures? Sharon.
There's a picture of Marcopolo and an emperor and a person riding on a camel.
Okay, very good. What else can you see, guys? Can you see anything else? Have a look on page 61 at the bottom left. Yes, Patrick, what can you see?
Sand.
On page 61 at the bottom left.
Wait, 61.
Yeah.
All right. Because I think I'm in the wrong book.
Uh-oh. Okay. Textbook.
I'm in the workbook though.
Oh yeah, no, textbook. We need our textbook page. Sharon, what can you see at the bottom of page 61? Yes, Sharon, what can you see?
A sailboat.
Okay, very good. Sailboat there. Can you see the compass? Can you see the compass?
Yes.
Yeah, does anyone know what do we use a compass for?
You find the way, like if we're lost in the woods, we can see by the compass showing us the way out.
Okay, Patrick, what were you going to say?
I was about to say the same thing but a little bit different.
Okay.
Find their way.
Yeah, basically to find your way. The compass points to north or south, east or west. So you can know which direction you're traveling in. And I guess it's very important so you don't get lost. Okay, turn over to the next page, page 62. What can you see on page 62, guys? Kevin, what can you see on page 62? Karen, what can you see on page 62?
A map.
Yes, good girl, there's a map. Yeah, there's a big map on page 62. And let's have a look at some of the things we can see in the map. Can you see Italy? Raise your, give me the thumbs up if you can see Italy. Uh-oh, only one person can see Italy. Two people, okay. Can you see Venice? Venice is a city in Italy. Then it says Constantinople. Constantinople, that's another city. That's in Turkey. Can you see the Mediterranean Sea? Mount Ararat, Persia, Palestine, Georgia, Mongolia, the Pamir Mountains, the Gobi Desert, the Great Wall, China, Chengdu, Fujian Province, Tibet, India, Malaysia, Sumatra, Indonesia. Oh, that's where we live. Okay, let's get started, guys. We're going to read this story about Marco Polo. He's a famous explorer. He's from Italy, and he went all the way across and visited China. And he stayed there for a long time, and he lived with the Emperor of China. So let's get started. How about we get Kevin? Could you please start reading The Travels of Marco Polo, paragraph 1. Kevin.
The Polos had been away from home for 24
Oh, hang on a
years.
second. Page
Soon
60.
after they returned,
Page 60 in the text.
more than 700 years ago, in Italy, a man told his companion about his travels to wonderful lands. His friend found the story so interesting that he wrote them down. Storytellers Marcopolo, the book, the whole world, told the people way of life in China and other eastern lands.
Good boy. Just one second. I'm just looking on Google. Ah, there it is. Let me share with you. One second, I'll share screen. Yeah, Given told us that there was a book written. The book was called A Description of the World. Let's have a quick look. I'll share screen. It's a real book, guys, and you can actually buy it. You can even buy it today. It's Marco Polo's story. You see, it said in the first paragraph that he told his friend the story, and his friend wrote the book, The Description of the World. Okay, so it's a real book, and you could probably buy it if you wanted to. I'm sure it would be a fascinating, interesting book to read. Okay, so let's continue. Let's get Wilson to read second paragraph, please, Wilson.
Marco Polo was born in 1254 in Italy. His father Niccolo Polo had traveled all over the world to trade his goods. Niccolo and his brother Maffeo had once even traveled to the east till they reached China and met the Emperor Kublai Khan.
Okay, so yeah, that paragraph tells us that Marco's father, Niccolo, and Niccolo's brother, Maffeo, they had already traveled to China before. Okay, let's get Emily to read the third paragraph.
In 1271, Capolo decided to return to China. This time Niccolo brought along his son 17-year-old Marco during those days. Traveling to China from Europe took a very long time. First, Marco Polo and his father and uncle took a ship across the Mediterranean Sea to Palestine, now Israel, in the Middle East. They wanted to travel from there to China by sea, but the ships were not safe.
Okay, very good. One second. I just want to check something here. Ah, yeah, guys, I'll share screen again. Emily just read an interesting paragraph. It said that they left in 1271 and they went by ship across the Mediterranean Sea to Palestine. Okay, maybe we can have a quick look at this map here. Okay, so they started in Venice, Italy. Can you see where my mouse is pointing? And they went across the Mediterranean Sea over here to Palestine. Okay, let's ask, let me see. Patrick, can you please continue reading fourth paragraph?
So the Polos decided to go by land across Asia. They rode camels across the deserts in Persia. They traveled through Afghanistan and other parts of Central Asia. Soon the travelers reached the Silk Road, a famous travel route.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Patrick. So they went across from Venice to Palestine by boat. When they landed here, then they went across Asia by land. Okay, very good. Thank you, Patrick. Okay, let me see. Sharon, could you read the 5th paragraph, please? Oh, sorry. Yeah, 5th, yeah.
In the high Pamir Mountains in Central Asia, Marco discovered that fire didn't burn well there and water took longer to boil. In a region called Georgia, near Russia, Marco saw people using a strange oil as fuel and to soothe their skin. This was the first time a European had come across petroleum, the oil from which petrol is made.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. I think we skipped a paragraph, but it was only a very small paragraph. On his trip, Marco paid attention to everything around him. He met people of many different religions, and he learned many new languages. Okay, but Sharon read, when they got to the Pamir Mountains in Central Asia, Marco discovered something. It was petroleum. Petroleum, it comes from the earth, and it's what we use to make petrol. For Indonesian, you call it benzin. But people used it as fuel, maybe for making fires, but they also put it on their skin to soothe their skin. Now, soothe, let me just write soothe means to make feel better. Okay, so like if you burnt your skin, you can put this petroleum on your skin. And raise your hand. Have you ever heard of Vaseline? Do you guys know what Vaseline is? Yep. Okay. Well, Vaseline is from petroleum. Okay. It's really thick, gooey, kind of a bit like jelly, and you can rub it on your skin. It makes your skin feel better. Okay, so that was paragraph 5. Sharon read paragraph 6. Let's go to paragraph 7, and we'll ask, let me see, Serene, could you please read paragraph 7? Serene.
The Polos also traveled across one of the largest deserts of the world, the Gobi Desert in Asia. It took the Polos a month to get across this dry land.
Okay, very good. So they went across the desert. Let's go to paragraph 8. Celine, could you read paragraph 8, please? Okay, how about Zephania? Zephyr, could you read paragraph 8? Once the Polos had crossed the desert. Hello, Zephyr.
Once the Polos had crossed the desert, they were in China. The Polos rode all the way across China to the Great Wall. Finally, they arrived in Chengdu, the summer house of Kublai Khan, 3 years after they left home. The Polos met Kublai Khan at his summer court. Marco impressed Kublai Khan with stories and descriptions of his journey to China.
Okay, very good, thank you. So when they crossed the desert, they arrived in China and they went to see the emperor of China. who was Kublai Khan. Kublai Khan. Um, and I think they became good friends. They became very good friends. Okay, let's continue. Paragraph 9. Let me see. Kenji, could you start reading paragraph 9? Karina, could you do paragraph 9, please?
The Polos lived in China for the next 16 years. Marcos saw many places other Europeans had never seen before. All the places Marco visited were described in a description of the world. The book mentioned the inventions Marco came across in the Mongol Empire. It also told of how the black stones were mined from the mountains and used as a fuel. We now know this was coal. When the Chinese began using paper money in China, Europeans were still using heavy metal coins. The book also told of gunpowder the China used to make firecrackers and the postal service he saw in action in China. According to Marco, the Chinese did not eat bread but made noodles from wheat.
Okay, very good. So, as you can imagine, life in China is very different to life in Europe, where Marco came from. And when he went to China, he discovered many interesting new things. In that paragraph that Karina just read, we learned that he discovered coal. Coal is like a black rock that we use for burning. Sometimes if you have a barbecue, you use coal. He discovered paper money. In Europe at the time, they didn't use paper money, they still used heavy coins. But the Chinese people were using paper money. He discovered gunpowder in China. They used that to make fireworks. They also had a postal service in China, which they didn't have in Europe. So, and also he learned about noodles. So yeah, he discovered many interesting things in China. Okay, that was paragraph 9. Let's go to Gwen. Gwen, would you like to read paragraph 10 for us? After many years in China,
the Polos decided that it was time to go home. Though he was not happy to see them leave, Kublai Khan finally gave the permission to go, but only after they promised they will return between 1291 and 1292. The Polos sailed for India, the most directed route home. Along the way, the Polos stopped in Malaysia, Sumatra, and Ceylon. A road known as the Spice Road. The Polos arrived in Persia more than 2 years after leaving China. While they were in Persia, they learned that the Khan had died. They left by boat for Fins and arrived home in 1295.
okay, great, thank you, good reading. So guys, a couple of interesting things. We learned that to go from Italy to China, it took 3 years. And then they lived in China for 16 years. And then when they came home, they went in a different direction. Let me see if I can share screen again. This is how they went to China. They went across the land here. But on the way home, they went by ship down here to Malaysia, Sumatra, Ceylon, this is Ceylon, and then over here to Persia. So they went a different route on the way home. Okay, great reading. Thank you very much. Let's turn the page. We're nearly finished. What are we up to? Paragraph 11. All right, Elaine, could you read for us paragraph 11?
The Polos had been away from home for 24 years. Soon after they returned, Marco married a woman named Doneto Bedler. Together, they had 3 daughters. Marco became very wealthy and famous for his tale of his travels. Many people at that time thought that he had made up his stories. It took centuries for historians to prove that most of what he has said was true.
Okay, great reading. Thank you, Elaine. So yeah, they were away from home for 24 years. Can you imagine that? It's such a long time. And interestingly, it says at the end of the paragraph, when he came home to Italy and he mentioned about his travels and all the interesting adventures, nobody believed him. They didn't believe him because his stories were so fantastic. And it took centuries, that means hundreds of years, for people to prove that what he said was true. Okay, and Elo, could you read the last paragraph, paragraph 12, Mr. Elo?
Marco lived to be 70 just before he died in Venice. On January 19, 1324, one of his daughters went to his bedside and asked him to take back all of these false tales. Marco turned to her and said simply, "I have not told half of what I saw."
Yes, excellent reading, Elo, good boy. Okay, so Marco, he lived to be 70 years old. And just before he died, his daughter came to his bed and she said, "Hey, Dad, take back all those lies. You were lying to us about your stories in China." Even his daughter did not believe him. And he said, "I have not told you half of what I saw." So he told his daughter before he died that basically everything he said was true. And he had only shared with her half of the things that he had really seen. Okay, guys, you can have a look at the map. Have a look at this part here. Can you see this little box? This little box here? This is called the legend. This is called the legend, and it helps to explain the map. So if we have a look at the map, the orange line is Marco Polo's route east. That's how he went to China. If you look at the red line, that was his route home, the way he came home. And that blue line is what they call the Silk Road. The Silk Road was a very busy trading route. People bringing goods from China to Europe, and people from Europe bringing goods to China. And it's actually interesting, in that time, I don't think it was called China. It was actually called Mongolia. And you can see Mongolia is the green area. It's very, very large. And Kublai Khan was the emperor of the Mongolian Empire. China is definitely not this big today, but many, many years ago, it used to be huge, much, much bigger than it is today. All right, guys, well, that is the story of Marco Polo. Very interesting guy. He's a real person, by the way. This is not a fiction story. This is non-fiction. He's a real person. And if you want, you could actually read his book. Remember, his book was called hold a second. The Description of the World. He didn't actually write the book, he just told his stories, and his friend wrote the book. All right, guys, well, that's about all the time we have today. I suggest, if you have some time today, maybe you can read the story again. Make sure you really understand, because tomorrow we are going to answer some questions in the workbook. You don't have to answer the questions today. We'll do it together tomorrow. Okay? So yeah, any questions before we finish the meeting today? Okay, well, hopefully you guys enjoyed the story about Marco Polo. It's actually what we call history, and history is a subject that maybe you can learn in high school or you can study at university. History is really interesting. I love reading about history. Anyways, guys, have a wonderful day, and I shall see you all tomorrow. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you, Mr. Josh. Bye, Mr. Josh.
Bye, Mr. Josh.
Bye.
Okay,
Mr.
it's
Josh
spring
left the
break.
game.
Spring break for about 20 minutes, and we will be back at 8:40.